You want to show this on you?
Yeah, me, of course.
Hey, what's up? Alright, so guys, we're at NYU. US Weekly says, NYU is the most coveted university in the world. So if you're from NYU, congratulations. And if you're from working in the city, congratulations. You are the top 1% of the world. It means that, I guess in a simple fashion, you kind of get it. You know how you meet people? There's people that don't get it, and there are people that get it. It just means a couple of things. Number one, you get that if you want to be successful, you're in New York. I mean, really, you're in New York because literally there's something wrong with you, right? You could live a much more comfortable life somewhere else. You're in the city because you want to be something more than that. So, what do we get? First, you get that if you want to be successful, you got to look good, right? Me, I work out. I work out 2 times a week. I run 12 miles a week, plus some basketball in there. You know, I've been on a diet for the last 10 years. Been trying to maintain. But let me just tell you, I can lie to you here and say that I diet and I work out because I want to be healthy. That's BS. I work out because I want to be hot. And if you're honest in this room, none of you count calories or work out or go to the gym because you want to be healthy. Don't give me that. You just want to look good. I think everybody in this room gets that. So if you want to be successful, you get that you have to look good. And you're in New York, secondly, because you have this need. You get that in order to make it, you got to be smart. Right? You got to not only work hard, but you got to be smart. You have this emotional need for validation, right? So you're going to work hard and you're going to make something of yourself. So that when your parents look at you and the world looks at you, you're a winner. And but then again, what happens is you get both of it. So what do you get in New York? We're in New York. You get a bunch of hot people walking out on the street that are really successful and maybe really smart. But then you look at business, and we have all these problems. Right, the financial crisis, all smart people, all right? Then you have many people losing their jobs, 10% economic crisis. There's immense greed and corruption, right? We have Elliot, shutting down all prostitution rings except saving one for himself, right? We have that. We have, Madoff steal everybody's money. And the point is this, why are all these smart, good-looking, successful people end so bad sometimes? I think that's because they don't realize, they can't make sense of their life because there's 3 things I like to basically say before I wrap this talk off. First, we have a physical hunger. That's sex, that's food, and I put sex and food in the same category, okay? It's okay. People are like, I like that. Yeah, well, that's true. It's a need, it's a physical need. Physical need is, the physical part is, so you have hunger, so you meet that hunger by working out and trying to, attract the opposite sex. And I tell Tail the time he's not here, but he's really concentrated his working out in his chest. And his chest is huge. And I'm like, hey, what is your obsession with working out your chest? And he goes, I just want to look good. No, you want to attract the opposite sex. Because if it comes out this way, it sends a message. So you work out for that. You have a physical need. Second, you have an emotional need, which is a validation of being accepted. But I think what people overlook, this is where faith in your career and maybe, perhaps, your purpose integrate in this hunger of faith. It's a spiritual hunger. And let me just tell you, I don't know where you guys are. I mean, you're invited here by friends, obviously. You might be working, you might be at NYU, in Manhattan. But you might be skeptical about church or faith or the gospel, or you might even sort of believe and you grew up in church. And I think how I can show you how God comes into play in the midst of all that, is simple. I used to believe, when I was, a certain age, I was very skeptical. And some of you might be very skeptical about this part of faith, right? Because I heard it all, I've been through it all. But let me put it this way. When I was when I was like in the first grade, or 7-6, right? I swore to God and to all my friends that I would never, ever like a girl. In my paradigm, in my grid, in my view, in my, whatever you want to call it, if anyone told me I would ever like girls, I would push you down the stairs, just like I would push any other girl down the stairs, because I did not have any of that type of capacity until I went through something called puberty. I was a skeptic. I thought it was stupid to like girls. I thought grown-ups were stupid. Why are they so drooling over those people? Those long-haired people. I mean, what is the deal with that? Why would you want that? And then suddenly what started happening is when you go through something like puberty, what happens is you start changing your perspective. I went from a skeptic to a worshiper. Literally. I went from hating girls, worshiping them, building altars for them, buying them stuff, eventually marrying one. And she's the boss of my life now. I own nothing. But you see what I'm saying? So there is a point when you go through something called puberty, which everybody goes through, and change is awkward, right? But eventually I became a worshiper. And in the very similar way, just like there's every step, physically, emotionally, you go to school, you work out, is the same spiritually. It's awkward. Puberty, there's something called, I coined it myself, spiritual puberty. Some of you are in this room going through that process. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, it's awkward. When you start, do you remember when you started liking the opposite sex? Awkward. Like, remember standing, next to them, I'm sorry, this is possible in NYU, so, but you're there, and you're talking to a girl, and you're just like, that's why, Hitch says hitting is a good thing, right? You start hitting them because you don't know what to do, so it's awkward. So change is usually always awkward. And you might be there. But suddenly, as you grow up, you become more confident, and that's why, like, Tay, you work out to get the chest bigger, or thinner, or hotter, or get whatever you need to, put that stuff on, so that it can make you look confident, and you go up and you go, hey, do you want to go to a movie? You start going from awkwardness, you start going to what we call, you start getting, aware of the change. And eventually you come to a place of awakening, where you accept the fact that you don't want to be with a man. Well, in New York, that's up to debate, but you know what I mean. You come to a point where you want to be miserable, because I'm honestly tell you, I've been married for 7 years. I have a son. He's back there yelling like crazy. If you heard him there watching the movie, listen, marriage is awfully beautiful. Love is miserable. I want to let you know, love is not superficial. Love is being miserable with that person. Miserable with it. But you know what? It's intimacy. That's why I say love is awfully beautiful. Meaning it's awful a lot of times, but you want to be with that person. You want to be with that one person. You can't live without them. So, what I want to wrap up today with is this. It's just a beginning conversation about faith and where you might be. And we're open to that conversation. So we brought some of our fellow friends from Career Base. So I'm going to introduce a couple of them, and then we'll just talk for the next couple of minutes. If you want to ask some questions, you can. Where we might be, what step we might be in the spiritual puberty. You might be in the awkward stage, you're awakened to it, or you might be being aware of it, wherever you might be. So I want to introduce you our Q&A panel. Okay, so we got, you want to just, Bruce. Hey guys, this is Bruce. Bruce is the Vice President of Goldman Sachs Finance Division, and he's here with us today being successful and handsome as ever.
Can I just grab a seat, or are we going to talk?
No, you can grab a seat.
Okay.
All right, then we have Sung here, and Sung, he's at private equity. Says that he sold out to be in finance. He sold out to be in finance. And then we have Charlie from ESPN. Charlie is modest, but Charlie handled the avatar account for ESPN.
Oh, wow.
So he had a lot of headaches for that. Okay. So what we're going to do from the panel is we're going to go with Bruce first. And Bruce is just going to tell you sort of his experience with faith and career, and how he found Christ very similar to Tay. And I'm sorry, is Tay out there?
You just got it.
Oh my God. Woo! Tell him to come in. Tell him to join the panel then. Okay. Tay arrived. Okay. He always likes to make an entrance. Yeah, I think he heard me talk about his chest and he got mad. He's like, why are you always doing that?
Hey!
Oh!
Sorry guys, I don't need anything all day.
They make you work like a dog. This is why you need Christ. But anyway, so Bruce is going to start about sharing his story, and we can interject in, sort of, if you guys feel like you sort of feel what Bruce is saying with his story about faith and how he found Christ in the midst of working at Goldman at 2000, and he's going to just go more into that story, and then we'll come back around. So, Bruce.
First of all, guys, thank you very much. It's a huge honor for me to be here, and I thank you for the invitation, Sam. It's really nice. I'm a graduate of NYU, a public university, a private university in the public service, and I felt really good walking through Washington Square Park being here. And what a great place. This Kimmel Center wasn't here. I used to go down to the basement of the Loeb Student Center to get lunch. This place is quality. I felt really good. And I have a son who's considering college, and this is, I think, now my first choice. But what Sam was saying, he's right. I mean, you are in the pinnacle of the place to be with New York City and NYU. But I think Tay said it best at the beginning of his, door number one. When I started out, I was kind of the hero of my own journey. I was, against all odds. I didn't have money growing up, and I knew one thing: I didn't want to be poor. I got a scholarship. I worked very hard in school. I went to Williams College. I got a scholarship. I wound up here at NYU. I got my MBA. I got my CPA, and I wound up at Goldman Sachs. And I remember when I applied to NYU, I had to do an essay when I applied. And it was to describe the difference between a manager and a leader. And I wrote about managers being able to be very efficacious, to routinary application of bureaucratic principles, to do the tactical things that needed to be done to execute them with excellence. But leadership was something different, with vision. I've thought of that differently now, and I would answer that essay differently. And I would say there's one thing between a manager and a leader, and that's crisis. And I will tell you, for you who are students here at NYU, whether you're undergraduate or graduate, or whether you're in a different industry altogether, you will face crisis. It may be like Tay's story. There could be lots of alcohol involved. I wish I had one of those hats. That was cool. It could be the temptation of women. It could be lots of business travel. It could be embezzlement. It could be betraying a friendship or a trust. And it will happen to you, and it will come. And if you haven't figured it out yet, you hear it here first. But it will come. And in my case, crisis did come in 2000. I was kind of in Tay's cycle. It was primarily alcohol-based, but there's a lot of reality to that temptation. I was a young father. I married the woman that I loved, that I met here at NYU. And less and less time was being spent with her. Life became a cycle of work and success and being the hero of my own journey. And I had to succeed. It was absolutely imperative. It got to a place where I couldn't stop, and I finally knelt in my living room. I didn't have time for God or church, but I guess I hit puberty. And in that awkward moment, I kneeled and I prayed to God. And I said, if you are willing, because I can't stop, you've got to make this stop. I can't save my family, and I can't save my child. After that, I was able to stop it. September 11th came, and I was able to be a point of leadership and trust to those around me in a time of great crisis. 2008 just happened. I'm not going to go through them all, we don't have time. But serious things happened. And in those times, I've been able to meet people and enjoy fellowship and find my true north. As Bill George calls it, a Harvard University professor, but to be anchored in who you are and what you're about, and that nobody will validate you or give you your sense of worth. Not a name of a corporation, not Goldman Sachs, not NYU, not MBA, not CPA, not PhD. They will not, and they cannot, and they don't have the power. And if you try to draw your life from these other places, in my experience, they lead to death. They will kill you. There's only one living, eternal promise and proven means to find that life and that ability from which to draw your life. And the Bible says, my people have committed 2 sins. The first is that they've forsaken me, the well of living water, and they've built cisterns, broken cisterns that hold no water. And that's where I was drawing my life, but now it's a deeper place. And that's kind of my story, and that's where I am. I've had 20 years at Goldman. These are the best years I've ever had. It's about knowing who I am. I'm not here to be the hero of my own journey, but it's knowing when I hit crisis, and we're hitting them now, is face reality. Truly assess what the situation is. Denial is big. Whether you're at Toyota and gas pedals are sticking, you've got to face what the situation is. And it's easy to deny. We're the #1 maker. We're the most profitable. We're the highest quality standards. This is not happening. And you will get hurt badly. The truth has a strange way of emerging. And what I would say is, if you're anchored in who you are and you have fellowship and camaraderie with those around you who are anchored in a like way and draw their life from a like source, you have a hope. And I can say the next thing, things get worse before they get better. It will get worse before it gets better. And it will take a matter of time to move through that. And finally, the importance of friendships. Don't be an atlas. Get with friends and community and fellowship and people you can trust and people who you can work with. And you can begin to move out. And then you come out the other end. And when you come through crisis, you have a different relationship with people around you. They know what you can do and they know what you're about. But more importantly, I would say, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because I don't mean to go on, you have a different relationship with yourself. And you have a real experience, kind of the end of this movie as Tay did, a real sense of the life and from where you draw that life. And that's an amazing man and an amazing God, the Lord Jesus Christ. And that's my testimony. I wouldn't have said this when I was at NYU. I don't know where you are in your walk. I don't know what would have spoken to me at that time. But I hope you'll consider these words and these wonderful people as you continue with your own walk. And that's kind of all my little spiel is.
We don't have time to answer questions right now, but if you have questions during the Q&A panel, they share their story. If you have one question, think about it, and then in the end, we'll wrap it up with the Q&A in the end. Okay, you can ask one question, and they'll try to answer it for you. Okay, so.
I feel like I'm just going to regurgitate the movie. So,
Yeah, I feel the same way.
So the way I came to 180 Church was through this movie I saw last year. And right after I saw it, I went to Pastor Sam and I said, "Who's this Tay guy? Can I meet him? Because he sounds like my twin." So, my background's the same, immigrant family. High school on Staten Island, unfortunately. But then, I had the same desire, the same greed, or the same chip on my shoulder that everyone else here has. And I went to MIT, studied aerospace engineering for 4 years, decided that it wasn't going to be enough. So I came to New York, did finance, I did research, banking, private equity. Next week, I'm moving to another private equity firm. So, all my life, I was always in control, right? All right, so I got rejected by girls now and then. In terms of the bigger things in life, right? So some of the important things, like getting to the school I wanted to go to, or getting the banking job I wanted, getting the top bonus, or getting the private equity job that I wanted with a good work-life balance, so I can drink in my free time. All of that. I can, I was at the point where I thought I was the boss of my life, right? My sister goes to NYU right now. I'm paying for her tuition. I invested my bonuses in my mother's business. Whatever I could do to help my mother, my father, my sister, my friends. I threw everything out there. And then I went through an experience last year where my mother had a near-death experience. And that's when I really realized, just to give you a background, I'm a PK. So my father's a pastor. I was born into the church. I grew up in the church, but it never hit me until last year. My mother was, face to face with death. Thank goodness she's okay. And then I look back on all the years of my life and all those goals I set for myself and all of those doubts I had about Christianity, about faith, about God, and that kind of 1-2 day span, I realized that no matter what I did, no matter how much money I spent to invest in my family, or myself, or no matter how many friends I had, or all the great things I had accomplished on my resume, ultimately I had no control. So that was really rough for me. Like I was like messed up. But that was the single event in my life that made me realize it doesn't matter. You know, I have no control. No matter how much I want it, it's not up to me. So, so that's what I went through. I talked to everybody and kind of met this family here. And now I find myself, you know, I asked the same questions when Pastor Sam, you know, prayed for me. I was like, wait, does that mean I have to quit my job? Can I still go out with my friends? But I've come to realize that those doubts I had, those questions that I had, I used to seek answers from them. I used to find some person that I thought was a diehard Christian, trap them and be like, well, tell me why you think this is right. You know, give me some evidence because my father's a pastor. I know all this stuff better than you anyway. You know. So I used to talk. I was a jerk about that.
I remember that.
So, what I'm beginning to realize is that I've been asking the wrong questions, and my doubts they're not the right questions to ask. They're irrelevant. Right? Once you realize the truth, discover Christ, none of that matters.
Amen.
So that's my story.
Thank you. Well, Charlie, you have a different twist on faith and career. So give us your best. He's a marketing genius.
ESPN.
I'm just a spoiled NYU brat. Honestly, I'm not as ambitious as these guys up here. I kind of just, you know, strolled through life and was content with, you know, everything handed to me. And it's not like I didn't appreciate things or like I took things for granted. But I mean, kind of how I came to this church was just, you know, do I want to go through life drifting in the wind? You know, I think that was the question, man.
Drifting in the wind.
Marketing.
But no, it's like, you know, there's a lot of great things in the world, and it's not like God limits you from enjoying that. But at the same time, if you don't have that foundation, you know, you can go through all these doors, but your house is just gonna crumble. Mm-hmm. And so, like, to have that at the core of your life, I think was really important for me. I'm still new to it. I struggle every day with it, you know. There's some scenes where I'm in the bad scene, you know. But I mean, it happens, and you just you struggle through it. But it's like you said, it's a process, and you kind of just figure your own way out. And you know, honestly, at the end of the day, it feels good knowing that you're part of something more important than just partying and you know, making money and driving nice cars. Like, you know, that can all come. Like, it will all fall into place for it.
We hope that it'll come, though.
Yeah, I mean,
church needs money too.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, just having that base, like, within your heart is just,
right.
You know, that was most important to me. So.
I think a practical application of what faith looks like when Christ comes into your life. Okay, so you're a student or you're working in the city, whatever. You know, one of the things that I didn't talk about is the pressure that's on you as people living in New York. There's tons of pressure to succeed, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, there's this pressure to be amazing, you know, because you're here. You know, this is the greatest epicenter of the world. And sometimes when you're going for that job interview, or you know, you're competing against people better looking than you, because there are a lot of people better looking than you.
I don't know. This is a good looking group. That's my take.
That's how he got his position, flattery.
Only from honesty.
But I remember when Charlie, we were going that day when you were going for the second round of ESPN interview, and we prayed together. Like, tell us more about that, how it felt, and what that experience was for you.
Well, it helps that he's also a Pastor Sam's also a like oral teacher, speech communicator. So he was actually like helping me out with my presentation that I had to give for my interview. But it's funny because he kind of called it, like, I think he was registering for this event at NYU, and he put my name down. He said, you know, I want you to be on the panel. You know, you're gonna represent ESPN. And I was like, you know, I I didn't even have the job yet. He's like, don't worry about that. So I was like, okay. So, I mean, 2 weeks later, you know, I get the call and I'm like, shoot, like, you know, it's the first guy I talk, besides my girlfriend, but.
I'm more important than her. Okay.
But I mean, it just, you know, you pray about something and God might not answer your call right away, but He'll give you the answer, you know? Maybe not verbally, but some way, like some form of communication in your life, like He'll answer that call. So
I think that it's important to understand what authentic faith is in Christ. And I think that Tay and I have a conversation with the diner, and I think it's really important for you to get that. It's that I'm not calling you to become a Jesus fanatic. Okay, there are quacks out there. There's Christian quacks out there that, and I'm not saying that faith is not radical, because my team and I here, my staff and all the people that did this, I mean, they are sort of, you know, radical in what we're doing, coming to NYU, having the audacity or having the balls to come here and talk about these type of events. I'm not saying that, but faith doesn't happen. For some people, it's like, you know, like Apostle Paul, like he gets zapped and he's like, all I forgot. But for many of you, it's going to be a process. And it's going to be a choice every day. And, you know, everybody in this panel are not perfect, especially not me. Just go with me in Diner. If we did like 40 days of Pastor Sam in Diners, you would realize that I'm a mother effer and I need Jesus real bad. When Jesus died on the cross. And I'll let you know, and that's one of the things we say at church. I mean, you don't need Jesus. If you're sitting here today, and maybe you're not there yet, you're sitting here today, and if you think you're not that bad of a person, then you don't need Christ. Well, why did Jesus die on the cross? It's because you're effed up. You're a sinner. And if you're not a sinner, Jesus doesn't need to die for you. You can start your own religion. You're good enough. You could be. I try to be nice, and I'm the pastor here. I'm like the worst one, right? I mean, I try to be nice. I try to be, kind. I'm none of those.
True.
That's my staff person. I mean, and that's why I need Christ. And that's the tension. That's why it's perfect. The gospel story is perfect for people that live here, because you live in the tension of not being good, of being driven, and of being messed up. And that's why you need someone else to be the boss of your life. And all of us are still trying to work that out. You guys, get what I'm saying? Yeah, I know you do. So Tay, cameo here, man. We didn't know you were here. When you flew here?
I did fly in.
Wow.
G5.
One day.
No, I was up in Boston yesterday and today, and I actually was supposed to go back at like 2, 3 o'clock, and then something got held up. So I ended up staying in Boston till about 6:45 is when I bought the ticket. And I was like, all right, I can make it to New York if I can get on the sort of the shuttle, or I could just go back to DC. I'll go to New York. I haven't been here in a while. I've been really busy, so I thought I owed it to myself to get away for about 12 hours from everything and come here. I'm glad I did miss the movie because I don't want to see it again. So, I mean, you guys saw it, right? So, is there anything else I can add? I guess one thing that I will add is sort of the after effects of having this movie, quote unquote. Still don't like saying that, still don't like to say this is my story. But I think all the staff guys, especially Pastor Sam and Pastor Lydia, know I probably give them the hardest time. And it's not like, sort of one of those like, I'm just being a idiot. I'm stubborn, I think I'm smart, I think I know my own way, so like, it's like, the thing that I struggle with the most, I got it. Like, I do need God, but I sometimes think that I don't need God, or sometimes I think that I don't need Pastor Sam or Pastor Lydia or any of the staff's help or my friends. I think I got it, so I'm gonna keep trucking along, and then next thing I know is like, that's not it. I'm falling down that trap again. So, and I live in Washington D.C. now, so it's kind of hard to like keep up with these guys, keep up with the services. Sometimes like I don't look at the YouTube sermon till like like 2 weeks later. Sometimes I look at it backwards, like and I kind of don't know what he's referring to when he said last week I talked about this, and I'm like, okay, let me pause and then start the other one first. But this thing has been my own accountability. I think about this, and I still go out. I still drink heavily. I still do the things that I probably shouldn't do. But I've toned it down. I like to think that I toned it down a lot. And also, I mean, there's a voice that kind of talks to me like, all right, you've had enough. All right, it's time to kind of stop, take a step back. Before I used to not listen, but now I know I do because I feel like I have a responsibility because of this thing over here. And I guess all I can say to you guys is, you know, wherever you guys are in terms of your life path, you know, whether you have a job lined up, you're trying to find that job, or you're already working, you're all set for the rest of your life, whatever it is, just think about what you don't have. Like what you don't, like I feel like I find myself so focused on like this one thing, a goal. It was a goal to make sure that I could provide for my parents. And I still get consumed by that goal a lot, but to be able to take a step back and just kind of think about everything else that's going on in your life, I think it's very important. And, you know, I don't know, like I would personally recommend this church to anyone because it's a family, and I think that's so important to be part of a community wherever you are in your life, even if you have like ton of like friends. It's just to meet people that genuinely care about your well-being is rare. You're not gonna find that in workplace. You kind of will, you know, when you have a couple of drinks or when you work on a deal with somebody, like you will, but this is at a totally different level. This is kind of just like things that you probably haven't experienced as far as just being able to speak to someone about anything, and they're gonna sit there and listen. So I hope you guys enjoy the movie.
Hey guys. Woo! If you have any questions to any of the members of the panel, you can ask a couple of them. if you have one. If not, we could all go to sleep. Take a break.
If not, I'm going to Penn Station.
Yeah.
I guess on a practical level, if you're working those hours and stuff, I guess I'm gonna start working too soon. And I guess, how do you maintain your relationship with Christ? Like, you know, sometimes it's even hard to just go once a week on a Sunday, but like, sometimes that's not enough. Like, you do QTs, and like, when you come back from the office, I don't know, the first thing you think about is, I don't do my QT, just when I'm passed out. So, I guess on a, like a practical level, what do you do to?
I don't think our church people do QTs, but
Or not QT, or
I'm kidding. Son.
Yeah. So there is a point, you know, one thing I really appreciate about the guys in this church, especially Pastor Sam, is that when he's mad at you, he will not hide it. And this has personally been really helpful for me because he keeps me accountable. So like I said, I did investment banking for 2 years, and I've been doing private equity for the past 2. There was a point where I was just so busy. I missed every single small group and every Sunday service for like 6 weeks straight or something, right? And he had texted me a few times, like, what's up, what's going on, where are you? He like stalks me on Facebook. Always like IMing me and stuff, so I'm just like, oh no, you know, here's Pastor Sam, I have to think of an excuse, but, you know, I am busy, but I told him that last week, you know, like, and then eventually he just kind of texts me. He starts up gently. He goes, okay, I'm going to be a little bit harsh on you here, colon. And then he just went off on me. And what I realized from that is he said, it's not just that you haven't physically been to church. It's not that you haven't shown up at small group, but I know that Jesus is not present in your life right now. Right? It's not just that you're not physically there, but I know the way you're living your life right now and over these past 6 weeks that he hasn't been in your heart, right? Maybe he's lucky, maybe he's right, but that really hit me. And you know, it's a thought process, right? I don't do anything differently from the way I used to. Right? I still work hard. I still, you know, go out for drinks with my coworkers, right? I still go out on dates. I still go to Circle. You know.
He swears he likes the music.
It's the music. That's why I don't play Hero. But I'm interviewing. I interviewed last month for the largest technology-focused private equity firm in the world, and I got the offer in 2 weeks. I was the last one in the process and the first one to get an offer. And I really, before any test, you go, please God. Like, I know I haven't prayed to you a lot, but please let me pass this test because I promise you I'll go through it. When I walked into those interview rooms, I was a mess because I had been working like 80 to 100 hours a week, working on like various deals all over the country or whatever. But when I went in there and I prayed to God, I figured, okay, here comes the obligatory prayer to God. When I realized my thought process had changed when I said, God, I really want this. I really want this job, and I really want you to want you to think that this is right for me. But if you don't think this is right for me, I can accept that because I know I'll be fine. But if this is your purpose for me, please let it work. So I really hope that His purpose for me is the purpose I wanted for myself. Right? That's what I was praying for. But that's when I realized that my thinking was starting to change. It wasn't just about me. It was about my purpose and His purpose for me. So, yeah, the hours were hard. Sometimes, like during Easter, I would just tell my VP or tell the MD, like, listen, I got to go to church, and they would respect that. But more importantly is keeping Christ in your mind and your heart. So, sorry for the long answer.
Yeah, quickly. One thing I do, now that I live in DC, I actually get to drive home instead of taking public transportation. So the moment I get in my car, turn the engine on, I start just praying. Because I know I want the car to kind of warm up a little bit. And then on my way home, it's like, if you looked at me from outside, you'd be like, it's crazy. I'm just there talking, like pointing at the steering wheel, and I'm just praying. I'm just like getting like everything, all the issues that I had in the day, to everything that's on my mind, I just get it out. And I just keep praying and praying and praying until I get home. And I mean, it's one thing. It's nice because I guess I'm venting, but that's the way I kind of try to stay connected. I don't even know what that means, but it's kind of a routine now. Like I have to do it, and it helps to sort of the next day kind of remember if I'm in certain situations that allow me to kind of be like impatient or get angry for no reason. I kind of go back to the prayer and like remind myself that it's all gonna be good. It's all gonna be alright.
And I was just picking up on what Song said. I love that. The community and the people you meet in the believing community is extraordinary. I'm a member of the Wall Street Ministry. Pastor Sam has come to visit. I love what you said, Song, about it being a family. The most extraordinary people I've met, the most encouraging, the most loving, the most without agenda, but with truth in mind and with faith, has been the Christian fellowship groups, even whether it's at Goldman or the Wall Street Ministry, or clearly, obviously, here I feel a fellowship immediately, and what an extraordinary group. So I just put that out there, get into community, even if you're questioning or doubting, and let the evidence of the living Lord as they work through men like this and those here be a testimony to consider.
Charlie, you got something to add to that?
At the end of the day, it's if you want to do something, you'll do it, and if it's within your heart, I mean, you have choices. So, to put your work as your excuse, like I'm working long hours, that's true. But if you really want to pursue that, whether it's small group or QT or whatever, you'll find time to do it. You just gotta organize your schedule, and you just gotta stop making excuses. Like if you don't want to do it, then you don't have to do it, and you can just say, I really didn't want to do it today. And like if I miss small group, like I'm not. It was my bad. Like nobody prevented me. So you just gotta look at it as that. Like nobody's preventing you.
It's coming out.
If you wanted.
You know, I have a spiel. You know, like pastors have sermons. I have spiels set aside for investment banking people and doctors. And my spiel is this. My spiel, listen, if you can't make 2 hours for God, it's not even, like a legalistic thing. If you can't make 2 hours for God, 1 hour to show up for people to ask you some hard questions, okay? Or you're going to be at circle instead, okay? Or, second, hard questions. If you can, and this is what I ask. If you can't put 2 hours for God in 1 week, no matter how busy you are, obviously you're too stupid to do those jobs or to be in those schools. Because, and I tell that to the doctor, they're like, what? I said, it's true. They're like, yeah. I mean, we're going to do Open Door downstate too. And you know what they say? They say, churches always let me off small groups because I'm studying to be a doctor. So what? Big shit. You're going to be a doctor? So what? I don't care. If you can't put God first in your life, that means it just means one thing, okay? You don't have a big enough stomach for someone to come and keep you accountable. And you know what? That's the type of accountability you want. Someone to drag you to the gym. You got to look hot, right? They drag you. Spirituality, same thing. You need annoying people in your life. A family? What's a family? Annoying people. people that know you, right? Because they don't always see you, with your hot suit or dress. They see you with like holes in your socks and underwear. I mean, well, hopefully just your spouse. But you know what I mean. So I think that accountability is a huge issue there. Okay. We got to wrap it up. Okay, a staff person wants to ask a question.
Yeah, I actually have a question.
All right.
Actually, this question is more for Mr. St. John because I sort of know the other guys. The 180 Fellowship, it says helping you achieve more than success, helping you discover purpose. And I guess that's sort of like an integration of like faith and finance. And I was just curious of how your faiths, I guess anyone could answer it, really sort of manifests in your occupations, or what purpose you have above the success you guys are looking for in life and stuff like that.
Yeah. Purpose, I guess, when I did that thing about management to leadership, leadership comes with that purpose, that deep sense of who we are and what we're about. I think before it was about promotion and just getting ahead, trying to impress somebody. I had to have the approval of the audience around me. I wanted to move to the top. Okay. So anyways, I think now the purpose becomes about accountability. It comes about integrity. It comes about transparency. And it becomes that you're summarizing human behavior in financial form, but it's more than just trying to impress the boss. And it's summarizing some really difficult things. And nobody wants, I just think of this Toyota thing now, it's just the latest crisis, how difficult it is for somebody to have the courage to stand up and say, this is the reality. I can tell you that denial is everywhere and very strong in corporate America. But if you're not trying to please your boss or you're not trying to rise to the top, but you're willing to be vulnerable and you're willing to rely on friends and trust you've built, then you can start to say the difficult things that need to be said. And that's probably the biggest change I've felt now. I don't care what other people think. I don't care what they think about me. I want excellence. I owe my God that. I owe this industry accountability, integrity, and transparency. And I will do everything I can to do it. I don't draw my life from it, but I don't draw judgment from those around me. And that is the most profound thing. I'm not intimidated or afraid when I meet senior people. I used to be afraid. I'm not intimidated and afraid in a large audience with partners or whatever when there's something to be said. I know I have something to say and I say it. And that's because my accountability is not coming from, I need your approval. It's not. And it used to be that way. I was really scared and worked very hard to hide those blemishes that only the family should know.
All right, guys, we're all out of time today. Thanks for coming. Let me just pray real quick, and you could stand with me. And then we could just head out the door. And if you don't have a church, and you're looking for a church, 180 Church meets right at Union Square, 19 and Broadway at the theater. So come by at 11:30 if you want, okay? I'm going to pray, and then bless you guys to go. Father, we thank you for these stories, these emerging stories of you writing them and you touching the lives of so many people. I want to invite some of these people, God, to enter these stories that your Son, Jesus, is calling them to. We pray and bless the spiritual puberty process. May it be awkward. May you become aware of his voice. And one day, may you come to an awakening that would give you a purpose that no one else can give, and give you a confidence that can beat anything in this world. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks for coming.